The bedroom glowed faintly, the familiar scent of our home blending with the reckless rush of my infidelity. My husband, Ethan, was meant to be at work, his late paramedic shifts keeping him out. I'd invited Caleb, an old friend, over after our recent reunion sparked something dangerous. 6 years into our marriage, Ethan's growing distance, his exhaustion, his silence left me desperate for affection. In our bed with Caleb, I thought I could steal a fleeting escape. Then the door flew open, and Ethan stood there, his face a storm of shock and fury. I froze as Caleb fumbled for his clothes, Ethan's gaze burning into us. "Sarah," he whispered, voice cracking, his hand already reaching for the gun safe by the dresser. My heart stopped as he drew the pistol, hands shaking but deliberate. "Get out," he growled at Caleb, his tone low, lethal. I screamed, "Ethan, no." But Caleb bolted for the door in panic. A deafening shot rang out, and Caleb collapsed, blood pooling on our bedroom floor. I crumpled, sobbing, the world shattering. Ethan dropped the gun, his face ashen, as if he couldn't fathom his own act. "You did this," he said, voice hollow, looking at me like I was a stranger. I pleaded, "I'm sorry, Ethan, it was a mistake." But he was already dialing 911, hands trembling. Police flooded our home, sirens piercing the night as they cuffed Ethan and carried Caleb's body away. I sat on the couch, numb, my betrayal now a tragedy. Our shared mornings, our dreams of a family, gone in one bullet. The days after blurred with guilt and grief. Ethan faced manslaughter charges, his trial looming. I stayed with my sister, unable to face our home, the bedroom now a crime scene. My affair with Caleb, a brief thrill, had cost his life and Ethan's freedom. At the jail, Ethan's eyes were icy. "Why?" he asked. I had no answer, only tears. My craving for attention, my betrayal in our bed, had driven him to a breaking point. I'd ignored Ethan's stress, my own restlessness, and justified reconnecting with Caleb. I'd thought Ethan's long hours meant he didn't care, but he'd been grinding for our future. My betrayal wasn't just the act, it was the lie, the choice to bring Caleb into our home. Ethan's reaction, pulling the gun, wasn't him, it was the pain I'd inflicted, erupting in a moment he couldn't undo. The trial was grueling. Ethan pleaded guilty, his lawyer citing emotional distress, my affair the trigger. Testifying, my voice quivered, admitting my fault under the courtroom's searing stares. Ethan got 7 years, his life derailed because of me. Alone, shunned by friends, haunted by Caleb's death and Ethan's absence, guilt shadowed me. My sister tried to console me, but the memory of that night in our bed festered. I moved to a small apartment, started therapy to confront my shame. I wrote Ethan letters, spilling regret, but he never responded. Caleb's family sued, their grief mirroring mine. I'd chased a spark of excitement, thinking it harmless, but it cost everything, my marriage, a life, my sense of self. Ethan's gun killed Caleb, but my betrayal lit the fuse, destroying us all. Months later, I visited Ethan again. His face was gaunt, eyes distant. "I loved you," he said, voice flat. "You broke me." I nodded, tears falling, knowing I deserved his coldness. My affair was a selfish escape, its cost unimaginable. I vowed to change, to bear the weight, but forgiveness from him, from myself, was a faint hope. Therapy exposed my flaws, my need for validation, my failure to address our drift. I'd cast Ethan as distant to excuse my actions, but he'd been trying, working for us. My betrayal in our bed shattered that effort, pushing him to violence he'd never shown. I volunteered, tried to give back, but Caleb's death and Ethan's sentence were permanent scars, reminders of my choice. One night in my empty apartment, I found an old photo of Ethan and me, smiling at a fair. I wept, knowing I'd traded that joy for a fleeting thrill. My affair ended a life, sent my husband to prison, and left me with only regret. Ethan's gun fired the shot, but my betrayal was the spark.